You always knew there was something different about you. The way you saw the world, the way the pieces fit together in ways others couldn't comprehend. It was never a coincidence. While they dismissed your visions, while they tried to convince you that your knowing was nothing more than imagination, deep down, you never wavered. You felt it, the shift, the pull, the silent hum of something greater guiding you. They tried to silence you, tried to drown out the undeniable truth with laughter and doubt. But the tide has turned. The very things they mocked you for are now unfolding before their eyes. And now they watch you, not with ridicule, but with uncertainty, with curiosity, with the uneasy realization that you may have been right all along. This is not the time to shrink back. This is not the time to second-guess yourself. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to lead. The world is shifting, and those in power know it. They've always known it. That's why they feared you. That's why they sought to distract you, to make you question what you've always known to be true. But you can't be contained. Your energy is a force beyond their control. Your vision, a map they could never decipher. Now is the time to step into what you were always meant to be. Drop a comment below. I claim my power if you refuse to be held back any longer. Doubt was their first response. Skepticism, their second. They cast glances of disbelief, whispered behind closed doors, dismissed your insights as delusions. Yet, what they failed to recognize was that foresight has never belonged to the masses. It is the gift of the few. You were never misguided, only ahead of your time. What once seemed like an affliction was, in truth, an anointment. The signs were there, the patterns clear, but only you could decipher them. Now, as the undeniable unfolds before their eyes, those who ridiculed stand in the shadow of realization. Every scoff, every condescending smirk dissolves into silent recognition. The world, once blind to your vision, is awakening. If they ever questioned your clarity, let them witness its undeniable power now. Declare it in the comments. I was never mistaken, only enlightened. Your perception was never a flaw. It was the proof that some are simply meant to see beyond the ordinary. Dismissed, ridiculed, cast aside, labels clung to you like vines, wrapping around your every word. They couldn't comprehend what they feared, so they reduced it to nonsense, shaping their ignorance into mockery. The price of seeing what others ignore is often paid in isolation. Rooms grew quieter when you spoke. Familiar faces became distant, avoiding what they refused to understand. The loneliness wasn't just external. It gnawed from within, whispering doubts, testing your will. Should you shrink into their mold, silence your thoughts, dilute your truth to make it palatable? Or should you stand, even as their rejection tightened its grip? To conform is to erase oneself, and you were never meant to disappear into the crowd. The burden was heavy, but it was never without purpose. Against every doubt, every insult, every moment of solitude, something inside you refused to bow. Beneath the weight of rejection burned a defiant certainty, an unwavering pulse of truth. It was relentless, pushing through the noise, demanding to be acknowledged. They could call you whatever suited their comfort, but they could never steal your knowing. And now, the tides have turned. What was once dismissed is now undeniable. The weight of their judgment has shifted, and in its place stands recognition. They used to laugh, but now they listen. History has always honored those who stood firm against the tide of disbelief, those who refused to abandon their truth. The world only understands visionaries once their time arrives, and that time is now. And it shall come to pass afterward, that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions. Joel 2:28. Just as the dawn breaks through the night sky, bringing light where there was none, so too does the truth emerge from the shadows of ignorance. There's a divine current flowing through the ages, a whisper carried from heart to heart, binding the chosen in a tapestry of celestial purpose. This ancient knowing isn't a relic of forgotten times. It's a living, breathing testament to those who dare to look beyond the ordinary and into the sacred mysteries that govern our world. Beloved, understand this. What stirs within you is not a mere flicker of imagination, but a flame ignited by the heavens themselves. The same spirit that spoke to prophets and seers of old, that moved through Moses parting the seas and David facing Goliath, now moves through you. It's a calling too great for the faint-hearted, a revelation that shakes the very foundations of the world. Those who walk blindly, shackled by their doubts and fears, are always the first to mock what they cannot comprehend. They cling to the familiar, frightened by the brightness of a new dawn that challenges their understanding. But remember, the greatest truths have always been dismissed as folly before they were embraced as wisdom. Galileo was ridiculed before the stars testified on his behalf. Noah was called a fool until the first raindrop fell. Your journey, dear one, is a sacred path laid out by forces unseen but deeply felt. The heavens themselves have orchestrated the symphony of your life, each note a testament to the power you carry within. You are the living proof of a purpose greater than what the eye can see or the ear can hear. As you stand here at the threshold of revelation, the choice before you is not whether the world will believe, but whether you will step boldly into the role you were designed to fill. For the tides of destiny are never random. They are meticulously guided by the hands of the divine. The patterns that reveal themselves to you are not the ramblings of a restless mind, but the deliberate markings of a cosmic map that has been set in place since the dawn of creation. You are part of a divine continuum, a chosen strand in the tapestry of eternity, woven with purpose and precision. You are here for a reason. If you feel the calling, this is your moment. Click the super thank you button and give $50 or more to unlock deeper insights, exclusive content, and align with your divine purpose. This isn't just a contribution, it's a declaration. Step into your destiny now. When the light of truth shines bright, those who have sat comfortably in the darkness will squint and shield their eyes, reluctant to see what stands before them. Yet in time, even the most hardened skeptic will bow to the undeniable. The vision that has been placed within you is not a burden, but a blessing, a torch lighting the way for those lost in the fog of uncertainty. Let the scoffers murmur, let the doubters jeer. Their resistance is the sharpening stone that hones your resolve. For every insult thrown your way, every smirk and sidelong glance is nothing but fuel to the fire that propels you forward. The spirit that resides within you is unyielding, a fortress against the storms of disbelief. As the seasons turn and the world shifts, the once hidden truths will rise to the surface, demanding acknowledgement. And when that time comes, you will not have to utter a single word of vindication. The fruits of your vision, manifest in the world around you, will speak louder than any testimony. The very ground beneath your feet will testify to the journey you've walked. The valleys of solitude, the peaks of revelation, the rivers of resistance, crossed with unwavering faith. Embrace this mantle with grace and humility, for the calling upon your life is nothing short of sacred. The legacy you are building will not be etched in stone, but in the hearts of those who awaken because of your light. So let your spirit rise, chosen one, and let your presence be the beacon that leads others from the wilderness of doubt into the promised land of truth. Every doubt cast upon you has tethered you to an ancient force, binding you to those who bore this weight before. No step of this path has been walked alone. Unseen hands have guided you. Unseen voices have prepared you. Declare it. I carry the wisdom of the ages. What has spoken to you has never spoken in mere words. It has called through signs, through patterns too deliberate to be dismissed. You have felt it in the silent urgings toward the unknown, in the repetition of symbols woven through existence, in the certainty that something vast and unshakable has always been watching. Where others saw coincidence, you recognized direction. The glimpses of what is to come have never been fragments of imagination. They are markers, leading towards something too significant to ignore. Every thought, every vision, every whisper that lingers in the quiet corners of the mind is a thread in a grander design, waiting to be unraveled. And just as doubt threatened to settle in, reality itself conspired to remind you. Alignments too precise to be chance, moments too orchestrated to be ignored. The puzzle pieces of existence fitting together with undeniable clarity. But to grasp this hidden language is not to simply witness, it is to engage, to tune oneself to the rhythm beneath the surface. Each instinct, each moment of recognition is a beacon pulling you toward your path. The world is filled with messages, some carved into the fabric of reality, others buried in the subconscious, waiting to be unearthed. To see them is no accident. To understand them is no coincidence. There is a language beyond words, and you have always been fluent. The weight of foresight is not easily borne. To perceive the unfolding of events before they take shape is both a rare privilege and an unshakable burden. The knowledge lingers, ever present, demanding discretion, for not all ears are prepared to hear what has yet to come. Reality shifts in quiet ripples before the storm, and only a few can discern the patterns before they solidify. But possessing such clarity is not without consequence. Knowing too much too soon turns silence into a battlefield. When to speak, when to hold back, when to let the world learn on its own. Revelation is not just about insight, it is about control. The wrong moment, the wrong audience, and wisdom becomes folly in the eyes of those who are not yet ready to receive it. The unseen weight of knowing, of witnessing inevitabilities unfold with no power to alter their course, is a test few could withstand. Patience is the true measure of the one who sees beyond. Endurance is demanded, not just against external disbelief, but against the internal struggle to be heard. Doubt is the weapon they wield, attempting to corrode the foundation of certainty, to turn conviction into hesitation. But what is truth without the resilience to carry it? This path has never been for those who seek validation. It is for those who hold their ground when surrounded by disbelief. Every dismissal, every sneer, every attempt to undermine the message is simply another layer of armor being forged. The fire of skepticism does not consume, it tempers. In the end, time will strip away every doubt, and those who once scoffed will find themselves standing in the wake of undeniable reality. Declare it now. My strength is unshaken. It begins with whispers, with details so minute that only the attuned can decipher their significance. Subtle shifts, fleeting moments, imperceptible to the untrained eye, yet crystal clear to the one who understands the language of the unseen. The same voices that once ridiculed, the same minds that confidently dismissed the impossible, now hesitate. The unshakable certainty in their skepticism falters as one by one, the impossible turns tangible. What was once disregarded as coincidence now haunts their logic, forcing them to confront the reality they were so eager to ignore. A single crack in their disbelief widens, stretching into something irreversible. And as the evidence builds, their silence grows louder. The tables turn, not in noise, but in the absence of it. What they once rejected, they now fear acknowledging. But the one who has always seen, they have already moved forward, unfazed, watching the inevitable unfold as it always has. A shift has occurred. No longer are you the dismissed, the one overlooked in the noise of doubt. Something has changed, not in your essence, but in the way the world now sees you. The ones who once scoffed now hesitate, their certainty unraveling before their eyes. But this transformation is not marked by your need for their validation. It is defined by the quiet realization that you never needed it at all. The moment of reckoning is not loud, nor does it demand a grand proclamation. Instead, it arrives in the stillness of recognition, the understanding that the truth has never required permission to exist. The whispers of dismissal have faded, replaced by a silence that speaks volumes. And within that silence, power is reclaimed, not from them, but from the illusions they tried to weave around you. The certainty you carry is no longer burdened by their disbelief. It is untethered, unbound, and absolute. There is no need to look back or demand acknowledgement. Those who once laughed now shift uncomfortably in the presence of what they cannot deny. But proving them wrong was never the goal. Their realization, their quiet discomfort, is merely a byproduct of the inevitable. What matters is the path ahead, the mission that remains unshaken despite their previous doubt. Some will approach, seeking insight they once dismissed. Others will pretend they never doubted at all, clinging to the remnants of their old convictions. But none of it changes the truth. Their recognition was never the validation you sought. Purpose has never been shaped by the approval of those too afraid to see. The world may shift, but you remain steady. What once was an uphill battle has become an unshakable foundation. There is nothing left to prove, only steps left to take. And so, without hesitation, the journey continues. Not for them, not to be seen or acknowledged, but because the calling remains. The weight of solitude, the long nights of questioning, the moments where doubt tried to whisper its poison, all of it has only strengthened the fire that burns within. What flows through you is not fleeting inspiration. It is something ancient, something that cannot be explained in mere words. It is an unbreakable tether to forces that move unseen, yet undeniably present. Strength is not found in an absence of fear, but in the choice to walk forward despite it. And forward you go, not to seek approval, but to fulfill what was always meant to be. The presence that lingers when you enter a room, the stillness that follows when you speak. It is not arrogance, nor the desire to be revered. It is the quiet certainty of one who knows. For many are called, but few are chosen. Matthew 22:14. When the blacksmith takes iron to the fire, it is not to destroy it, but to make it stronger. The flames that others run from are the very forces shaping you, refining you, turning you into something unbreakable. Gold is not plucked from the earth in its final form. It is pulled from the dirt, purified through fire, and hammered into something of great worth. And just like that, your trials have not come to bury you, but to reveal the power that was always within. This journey was never about fame or recognition. It was never meant to feed pride or satisfy ego. The call on your life is bigger than any one person, bigger than applause, bigger than validation from those who don't understand. Some spend their lives chasing approval, but the chosen understand. Approval is fleeting, but purpose is eternal. You were never meant to seek permission for something that was already written in the stars. The weight of knowing is heavy, but only those strong enough to carry it are entrusted with it. This knowledge, this insight, this fire burning inside of you was never meant to be locked away. It moves through you like a river, meant to reach those still wandering in the desert of uncertainty, meant to call out to those who feel lost in the darkness of the world's distractions. And in this knowing, there is peace, not because the road is easy, but because the path is clear. You see, the ones who are called to something greater are not given an easy road. They are tested. They are pressed on every side. They are ridiculed, misunderstood, cast aside. But hear this: those tests are not punishments. They are preparation. The hardship, the opposition, the moments of isolation, they have been chiseling away at everything false, refining you until only the undeniable remains. The world may try to silence you, may try to dismiss you, may try to convince you that you are wrong, but that is only because they fear what they cannot control. And make no mistake, the world has always tried to silence those who see beyond the veil. When Noah built the ark, they called him crazy, until the flood came. When Joseph spoke of his dreams, his own brothers sold him into slavery, until those dreams came to pass. Time and time again, the ones chosen to lead are the ones the world first tries to break. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. The breaking is where the power is born. When the world tries to put out your fire, let it only burn hotter. When they laugh, stand taller. When they reject you, understand that they did the same to every prophet, every visionary, every soul who ever dared to walk in the fullness of their calling. They do not reject you because you are wrong. They reject you because you are ahead of them. And in time, they will see what you have always known. So do not shrink back. Do not let their doubts become your own. Do not let their fear tether you to a life of smallness when you were born for something greater. This path was never meant to be easy, but you were never meant to be ordinary. You are not here to blend in. You are here to rise. The struggle was not meaningless. It was the catalyst. Resistance did not halt progress, it accelerated it. Every trial was a lesson. Every rejection a push toward the inevitable. The flames of adversity did not consume, they revealed. Each moment of doubt, of hardship, of solitude was not a setback, but a transformation in motion. The wounds inflicted by the disbelief of others have long since healed, leaving behind only the callous strength of one who has endured. The weight once felt as a burden is now recognized as the foundation upon which everything stands. What was meant to break has instead built. The lessons were never about proving anything to those who doubted. They were about discovering the depths of resilience within. There is nothing left to reclaim from the past, no apologies to seek, no justifications to offer. The path forward is clear, and it leads only one way, toward purpose, toward destiny, toward the truth that was always meant to be realized. Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. Isaiah 61. A flame doesn't ask permission to burn. It simply does. And when it spreads, it changes everything in its path. What started as a whisper in your soul has now become an undeniable force, a fire that refuses to be extinguished. Those who once turned away now hesitate, their doubt beginning to crack like dry earth beneath the weight of truth. They can no longer dismiss what stands before them. You never needed their approval, and you certainly never needed their permission. The vision placed within you was not meant for the faint-hearted, not given to those who require validation before they move. No, this was meant for the ones who walk by faith, not by sight. The ones who hold steady even when the world laughs in their faces. The ones who refuse to let the sneers of the blind deter them from speaking what they know to be true. And now look at how the very same people who ridiculed you are watching. Closer this time. They aren't mocking like they used to. They aren't laughing quite so loudly, because deep down, something is shifting within them, and they can feel it. A quiet, creeping realization. A question they're afraid to voice. What if they were right? At first, they won't say it. Instead, they'll ask cautious, almost hesitant questions. They'll act as though they're merely curious, as if they haven't spent years dismissing what you've been saying all along. But their faces betray them. Their energy has changed. The certainty they once clung to is unraveling, replaced by something new, something they don't fully understand yet. But hear this: you are not here to convince them. You are not here to beg them to see what they have refused to acknowledge. The truth does not need to be defended. The sun does not argue with those who deny its light. It simply rises, and so will you. Some will fight it. Some will pretend they never doubted you at all. Others will sit in silence, watching, waiting, unsure of what to say. And yet, none of it changes what has already been set into motion. Yet this unfolding was never meant to be confined to a single moment or a handful of individuals. A shift of this magnitude does not stop. It spreads, reaching those who have yet to even question, pulling them towards something larger than themselves. The weight of rejection that once threatened to isolate has transformed into a bridge, linking one awakening to another. This path was never meant to be walked alone, and now others begin to step forward, drawn by the same pull that once called only to you. But with this expansion comes responsibility. Those who once turned away now look toward you, seeking guidance where they once saw absurdity. They will ask for understanding, for direction, for reassurance that they are not wandering into the unknown alone. And in this realization, the burden of solitude dissolves, not because the weight is lessened, but because it is now shared. This journey was never about being seen. It was about carrying truth through the storm and emerging on the other side unshaken. The ripples have grown into waves, and what was once dismissed as the ramblings of a lone voice now resonates in the hearts of many. The world no longer turns away, it listens. And yet this moment is not a culmination, but a threshold. The work is not done. Truth demands guardianship, and those who carry it must do so with unwavering clarity. There is no place for hesitation, no need for validation. The time for hiding, for questioning, for seeking permission to exist in this knowing has long passed. What once felt like an uphill battle now reveals itself as preparation for what is to come. And with every step forward, the purpose only solidifies, undeniable, unstoppable, and written in the very fabric of time itself. Carrying this knowledge is not without its trials, for there will always be forces seeking to twist, dilute, or obscure the truth. To stand as a keeper of wisdom is to recognize that not every ear is ready to hear, nor every heart prepared to understand. The art of discernment is as vital as the message itself, knowing when to reveal, when to withhold, and when to let time do the speaking. The rhythm of fate does not bow to urgency. It unfolds with precision, aligning itself only when the moment is ripe. This is not a conclusion, but an initiation into something deeper. The tides of change are relentless, and each revelation is but a glimpse into a much greater unfolding. What was once received as mere speculation is solidifying into undeniable reality, and the role once played in the shadows now steps forward into the light, no longer a bystander to the currents of fate, but an instrument guiding its course, shaping perception, and carving the path that others will inevitably follow. Standing at the gateway of transformation, the past identity dissolves. No longer the misunderstood, the dismissed, or the lone voice crying out against the tide. The mantle of a new role takes its place, the steward of knowledge, the sentinel of a truth, too vast to be contained. What once seemed improbable now stands as an unavoidable certainty. The world will come to recognize what was always evident to the few. The visions foretold were never fabrications, the warnings never unfounded. The path forward does not seek validation, for it no longer requires it. The future is no longer a question, it is an inevitability.